of all, my name is Pasquale Cognetta, and I'm 67 years old right now. I heard about Habilitat way back in the early 70s. I happened to know Benny Marino prior to coming into Habilitat. He was kind of a legend in his field. He had been in several programs back on the East Coast, been in one program on the West Coast, and I heard about Habilitat from another friend, a friend by the name of Izzy, who had worked with Vinny in New York at Daytop Village, I think it was at that point. And I had a pretty serious drug habit and was running from the law. Decided that I wasn't getting any place. It was like being a rat in a cage. It was like just going around and around and around, not going any place. Flew over to Hawaii and decided that it was time for me to get a little bit of help. My first interview I didn't make. Vinny came in, he interviewed me, and I decided this was not for me. I didn't want a long-term program. Went back out into the streets, and same thing happened. Drugs, alcohol, jail, I mean, whatever it was, I did. About 4 months later, I decided that I needed help. And I made a phone call to Vinny, and he sent 2 people down to Waikiki to grab me, my ex-wife, she was my wife at that time, and we arrived at Habilitat. And like I said before, there was about 70 to 80, maybe 90 people in the program. Program was open for about 18 months and went through the interview process, had to scream for help because in those days, well, I'm sure Habilitat is still doing that today, you had to prove to the staff that you wanted to help yourself. I mean, this is not a program where you come here and just hang your hat on a rack and just sit back and go to the beach, and you need to do some hard work. You have to introspect, look at yourself, look at what got you here. Find out, you don't necessarily find out why people take drugs, but you have to find out why you were so unhappy about yourself. What made you stoop to that level to go out and stick needles in your arms, to live in the streets, to do things that people would never think of. So this was the type of lifestyle that I led, and never knew that there were other people like myself that would, be able to point out my shortcomings, to point out how angry I was, to show me that they were in the same place that I was. That at some point in their life, they had ran from the law, they had taken drugs, they had done anything that they could possibly do in life. Corruption, I did, and when they told me about it, it was easier for me to let go. It was easier for me to confide in them. So it's kind of like criminal A will help criminal B. And that's what I would say is the philosophy of Habilitat. There's not any psychiatrists, psychologists, people that interview you, and I believe you have to go through a process to make sure you're not suicidal, to make sure you're not going to hurt anyone else. But day to day, it's other residents that are pointing out your inferiorities, telling you your manipulations, or telling you you can't do this, you need to do that. I mean, these are the things that drug addicts don't like to do. We don't like to be told what to do, how to do it. We don't want to be responsible. All the things that your parents tried to teach you as a child is what Habilitat teaches you now. I mean, it sounds so infantile or so simple, but for a person that has a character disorder and a person that's never done anything in his life the right way, it's very difficult to do. Learn how to get up, make your bed, to learn how to be responsible, to maybe only smoke 5 cigarettes a day rather than 25 cigarettes a day, to learn how to communicate to people, to learn how to respect other people, to learn how to respect a female, to learn how to respect whatever it may be, any kind of a situation. If something is given to you, a piece of article of clothing or whatever it may be, respect it. Don't destroy it. Don't ruin it.
That's good. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience when you were in the program?
Well, I mean, it was very turbulent from the day I entered until I went through the whole process. It took me about 18 months to finish complete Habilitat. I guess the hardest thing for me to do was to learn how to be honest with myself, to learn how to be honest to others. I had never been honest to anyone. I did what I wanted to do on the streets, taught myself right from wrong. Okay, no one ever put any boundaries on me. So when I came to Habilitat, everything was no, no, no. Everything I wanted to do I was told no, I couldn't do it. So I had to start manipulating. And what I found out was that as you try to manipulate, the more you manipulate, the more people start understanding what you're all about. And they call that a jacket. And they become, it's like your MO, so to speak. And once they get that, it's very difficult for you to manipulate your way through the program. So I had a very difficult time. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I had no education whatsoever. I had to go to school. I had to learn how to communicate to people in a respectful way. I had to learn how to deal with prejudice because there were a lot of people in the program from Hawaii, people from all walks of life, not just ethnic, but all walks of life, from all over the world, basically. So there was a lot of things that I had to deal with. I had to deal with anger. I had to deal with being uncomfortable every day, just getting out of bed and being able to face up with what I had to do. There were no crutches, so to speak. Heroin, in my opinion, or any kind of intoxication, whether it's pills, whether it's pot, whether it's alcohol, is a crutch. So without it, you become very weak as an individual. You don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to do any of these things. I mean, it sounds so infantile-ish, but that's the way it is. What I walked away with was respect for myself. To know that being uneducated when I first came into Habilitat and learning about myself, learning about life, learning about people, I had a confidence about myself. I was able to not seek people that were in the bottom ranks of life, okay, but I went out and met people that were my age, that were very successful, that were lawyers, that were doctors, that were businessmen, and I learned how to communicate to them. Part of being in Habilitat, we had businesses. We had an advertising specialty business, and I was able to, at that point, go out and communicate with the public, go out and introduce myself and say, hi, my name is Pasquale, I'm from Habilitat. Have you ever heard of us? And they'd say yes or no, and I'd say, well, Habilitat is a nonprofit organization, and what I'm doing in front of you today is I'm not asking you for a donation, but we have several businesses. And the business that we're in and what I'm talking to you about today is advertising specialties. So it's calendars, it's pens, it's t-shirts, it's hats that have imprint on it. So that's how we earned money for the program, and that's how each one of us developed confidence, learned how to communicate with a business person, understood the business world, understood finance. We understood a lot of things which we never had before. That's one of the biggest things. I graduated in '75. I worked for the program. At that point, Habilitat had decided that we were going to become self-sufficient. And in order to be self-sufficient, we had to open up various businesses. Like I explained to you, we had the advertising specialty business. And we kind of saturated the islands. We hit every single business that you could possibly think of selling our products to. And people loved us. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was like spending your dollar twice. Once to help your business, as a side effect, you were helping Habilitat. We weren't asking for a donation. We weren't asking for a handout. We were saying, let us sell you something. And people loved it. They respected that. So when I graduated in '75, I said to Vinny, I said, why don't we expand? Why don't we go to the mainland? Why don't we open up another division? So I went to Baltimore along with 6 other residents, and we rented a building, and we started a Habilitat 2. That was an induction center and businesses. So what we did 2 parts to that. One is actually 3 parts. We did fundraising, we did events in Baltimore, we did advertising specialties, And then we went out into the prisons and we introduced ourselves and did induction. So we took people in from the streets that needed help. And so I did that for, I want to say 7 years, worked for the program. And in and out, I would work for advertising specialties, then I'd come back and do clinical work, run therapy groups, or we call them games, which is sitting in a circle and talking about your feelings and getting your anger out and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that I did. So it's been now, 41 years since I've been involved with this program. 13 of them very intensely involved, and then the remainder on my own, living in Baltimore, Seattle. Had several businesses of my own, and I've been coming back here over the years. I'd come back and visit Habilitat, and to kind of illustrate what the program is like, it's identical to the way it was back in '71. Nothing has changed. The philosophy is the same. The surroundings have changed. The businesses have changed. The building is, I would say, up to code. When we had it, it was an old, dilapidated mansion. And it was very difficult to house 50, 60, 70 people. So we actually had a chicken coop that was on the property, and we turned that into a dorm where 8 people lived. So we really started off at rock bottom and built this thing up together. And it was, it felt very good as an individual myself that I was contributing something. Not only that I was learning something for myself, but I was developing that respect we were talking about, developing that I was just as good as anybody else out there. Even though I had such a checkered past, now that I've been through this program, I'm just as good as anyone else. There's no reason to feel inferior. I would think integrity, number one. Be integrity. Be who you are. Have integrity in what you say, what you do. If you tell someone, pick me up at 7:30, be there at 7:30. I mean, it's a little thing like that. These are things that we need to learn. We had to teach ourselves. Have integrity. If you tell someone, I'm going to do this for you, be there. Do it. That's very important, whether it's in business, in life, with your family, with your children, whatever it may be. You have to have integrity in what you do, because what you do for yourself, you become a role model for other people, i.e. your family. So I raised a nice family when I left the program, and they modeled themselves after what they saw. Well, I can't say that's a simple question because everyone is different. Every person has a different problem, a different way of presenting themselves, whatever it may be. Probably the first thing I would do is ask them a couple of questions as far as what their mom was like, what their dad was like, what their upbringing was like, to get a sense of who they are, what they thought of themselves, what they think of other people. Have they ever had a relationship with a girl? Or if it was a girl, I probably wouldn't ask her about her relationships with a male. But another male, I would ask him what kind of relationships he's had. How was his upbringing? What was his relationship with his father? I mean, these are the types of things that people never talk about or you don't see on TV, okay? But these are the things that go on with people. I mean, it's little things that gets a heroin addict or an alcoholic or just a person that has a character disorder which causes these things to happen. It's inferiority complexes. So I would try to feel those out and see what kind of response I got from that. And then let them know what Habilitat's going to expect out of them and say, could you handle it? Could you take reflection of yourself? Could you sit across from someone else and have them tell you about yourself? Habilitat is like a mirror. So as you walk through the facility or walk through the grounds, it's like looking at a mirror. People are going to point out exactly who you are, what you do wrong, and what you do good too at times. Well, I would let them know that the program works in phases. And depending on how long they were in the program, if they were under 30 days, I'd give them a lot of TLC, a lot of understanding, a lot of encouragement. Look at this particular person who has been in the program maybe 6 months, and give him or her a little background of how rough it was for them to come through the program. Give them some encouragement that there's other people that have been in the same seat that you're in. And if you stay here and do what you're told or do what's asked of you, you'll see the rewards later on. So it would be positive reinforcement. Never tell that person a lie, or never, again, that integrity. Let them know that this is what you're gonna, it's not gonna be easy, but if you listen to what I'm telling you and keep your feet on the ground, you'll see the rewards. That's what I would tell them. Well, I'm here for myself. I'm here for a lot of different reasons, but really for myself. When you're part of an organization like Habilitat, I was telling some other friends that it's like when I came here initially, my life was just totally scattered out. I had nothing. I had a good family, but I ran away from them. I didn't want to be around them. I couldn't handle it. And went through the program, got a lot of results out of the program, and came back here today to reflect and basically to visit my peer group of people. Through the 40 years that I've been involved with Habilitat, it's been like my family, because once you're in this particular program, you gain friendships that are solid. They're like your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. I mean, they're very, very solid relationships. And I've kept all these friends all these years. In fact, yesterday we had a slight reunion. There was 25 people that showed up that live on the island. And we sat together and we talked about Habilitat and what it did for us. And the thing that was interesting was I brought a very good friend of mine, a person that I work with. He came with me to Hawaii. And I explained to him that we're going to visit friends and we're going to be talking about some things that you're probably not going to imagine. And he sat at the house with us as we were getting together and having this party. He could not believe that we hadn't seen each other for 10 or 12 years, that the conversation was just like we saw each other yesterday, like we were brothers, sisters, or whatever it was. It was like our relationship from 20 years ago just continued today. So I came here because I'm interested in this program. I always tell people, it's like being born again. Like not so much born again Christian or anything like that, but it's a sense. I came here with nothing, and here I am 42 years later, a successful businessman. I have a great family, I have great grandchildren. I've had several houses that I purchased over the years, several businesses, I have an import company. So there's a lot I've accomplished. And I came here not only for myself, but I want to share it to the rest of the people that are in the program, the younger residents. I think it's very important that they understand that it's not easy when you complete this program. It's not just like, putting your coat on or whatever and just walking into the sunset and saying goodbye, everybody. That's not the way it is. Life is, what it is, okay? So keeping that peer group of people is very important. And like I said, I've kept them for 40 some odd years. And Habilitat is a big part of my life. I mean, I've seen Vinny's daughter born in the program. I got married on the facility here. I've seen Vinny and Vicky get married here. I saw many of my friends get married right here in Habilitat. It's my life. It's what brought me back to life again, I should say. And what was offered to me can be offered to anyone else. I'm no different than any other resident that's come through that door or come through that gate. I was given the exact same thing that's given to people now, 40 years later. Well, the two founders pretty much is Vinny Marino and Vicky Marino. Vicky and Vinny, I guess, well, I don't guess, they were like a mother and a father figure in the program. Everyone grows up, you need to have someone to look up to, your mom, your dad, some sort of figure. Well, they replaced that particular person in your life. I mean, their mom and your dad. So Vinny was very, very charismatic. He had a lot of good qualities about himself, things that we never had. So he was a role model. He taught us things. He taught us a philosophy about life. He always loved to quote Emerson. And one of the things he would tell us was Emerson's essay on self-reliance. A man is relieved and gay until he puts his heart into his work and does his best. I can still pronounce, I can tell you the whole thing till today. I mean, these words were embedded in us. It wasn't a religion, it wasn't a cult, it wasn't anything. It was normal things that you would teach your children every day. So Vinny had the male figure, and Vicky was the female figure. And when women or girls came into this program, let's face it, they were abused. A lot of girls came in, they were on the streets, they were abused, men took advantages of them, they needed a lot of help. Us, as males, needed to learn respect, how to respect a woman. And as a woman, they had to learn how to let go to a man again, to develop trust again. So a lot of these things were talked about in groups. We would have relationship groups, or we would have male-female groups. So we would have certain groups that would have topics too. And Vinny and Vicky would oversee those groups. And essentially what they would do is point out mistakes or point out the problems that occurred, how hurt we were as individuals, how we were never able to trust. These are all the things that were taught to us as individuals. One of the things that really upsets me as a person is here we are now in 2013. Program has not changed. Philosophy is the same. A lot of people get helped, a lot of people over the years, but yet there's these commercials on TV about 30-day programs. How are you going to help somebody that's been abused and abusing himself for 20 years in 30 days? Taking $50,000 of your money, $25,000 of your money, having a beautiful ad on TV. You know, heroin addiction, drug addiction, pill addiction, opiates, whatever it may be, is not a disease. You can't just give a person a pill and say you're cured. Okay, it takes a long time to unravel yourself, to find out who you are, and how to build yourself back up again. You have to have a foundation in life. None of us has had that before. Habilitat has given us that foundation. Vinny, Vicky, role models. Look at me. Look what I've done with my life. This is where I was. This is where I am today. Unfortunately, they're both dead. Vinny died of cancer, and so did Vicky. I have cancer. I have terminal cancer. Stage 4. Brain cancer, kidney cancer, spine cancer. I've had it for 3 years. I went in to see my doctor. He said, you have kidney cancer. Operated, took my kidney out. It's a little hard for me to talk about this. Took my kidney out, said you're cured. No cancer. A year later, cancer came back. Brain cancer. 5 gamma knives I've had, 5 different surgeries, uninvasive surgeries on my brain. Then it went to my spine. Then it went to my lung. Now I have it in my lymph nodes. But the thing is, this was 3 years ago. They told me I had maybe a month, 6 months on the deep end to live. They put me on chemo drugs, put me on pills. I tried it. Didn't work. So now I made a choice. No drugs, no chemo, cut 50% off my life, but I have quality. So I'd rather have quality than quantity. I love people around me. I love my daughters, my mother's still alive, my wife, my friends. That's why I came out here. I feel like I was reborn back in Habilitat, and this may be the last time I ever see anybody or any of my friends. So I want to come out here and address Habilitat because they saved my life. And if I could help one other person, that would make me happy. It changes in seconds when they tell you, you know? And then I say, how long do I have? And he says, 30 days, 6 months, maybe. So I'm not God. I can't tell you how long it's going to be. But if you listen to what I have to say, I can probably help you. Well, I've heard those words before. I heard them from Vinny and Vicky. And I also heard from Vinny, if you get a disease, if you get cancer, because he used to tell us the same thing. There was a lot of hepatitis C going on. AIDS was going on during the early 80s. If this happens to you, what are you going to do? Are you going to cave in? You're going to fall apart? No. You hold your head up and you deal with it. You look at that cancer and you look at it right in the eye. That's exactly what I did. I said, I'm not going to let it take me over. And that's why I'm here today. I don't know whether I'm cured. I don't think so. But I'm also not going to bring you down because I have a cancer, make you feel bad, make anyone else feel bad about it. But I'm going to deal with it every day. And hopefully I can live a little longer. I can't walk because all the nerves are kind of destroyed in my left side of my leg. There's a lot of things that I could feel bad about and I can go out and destroy myself. But I'm not going to do that because I have that respect. And I also have people around me that love me and people that I love. So that's a big reason that I'm out here. Come and share that with the rest of the people in the facility. Well, I don't know if it was a profound thought, but I said to myself, well, honestly, the first thing that happened was Vinny's face it was like a vision. And I said, how am I going to deal with this? My wife was sitting next to me and I could see her face cringing. And I felt that I had to help her rather than me. I needed to be strong. And I think what I did was I deflected it at that point. I didn't go into denial, but I think I deflected it. And I wasn't going to allow it to control me at that point. I had no idea he was going to say that. None whatsoever. Brain cancer. Never in my life did I think I would have brain cancer. In fact, that's what Vicky Marino died of, brain cancer. Vinny died of cancer of the lungs and liver. No, of the pancreas, I believe it was. But I did not have an idea that he was going to say that. I thought he was just going to say, well, you had a couple of little lesions here and there and it's all taken care of. But he said, you're terminal. You have stage 4. And there's not much we can do. So I said to myself, I've got to wrap my arms around this somehow, and I have to get my thoughts, you know. So I think the appointment was probably 15 minutes. And I said, can I ask you questions? And he said, sure, please. How long do I have? What should I be doing? And he said, I'm not God. He said, but I have to compare you to other people that have what you have. And you have 32 lesions in your brain. And there's only one other person that has 45, and he's in Asia. So he goes, I don't know what the prognosis will be. That's when they started the process of Gamma Knife, and where they use these rays to go into your brain and actually manipulate the rays to kill the lesions and not hurt the rest of your brain. So I don't know whether I'm talking good right now. I don't know if I'm slurring words. I mean, that happens sometime. I forget some things, and other things I remember everything. So, but what I walked away from was, yeah, a lot of fear. But I knew that I have a daughter. I have 3 daughters, actually, and 4 grandchildren. And a mother that's 89 years old, that I had to not be, bring up a lot of drama in my life. I need to grab my arms around it and understand it for what it is. My relationships with people. Most people will tell you cancer is devastating to you and it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And if I tell you, it's not the worst thing that ever happened to me. Being a drug addict before I came into Habilitat, That was the worst thing that ever happened. Having cancer, of course, I'm terminal and I'm going to lose my friendships, my family and so on much earlier than I planned on. But I've learned how to communicate to people better. I learned the value of a friendship, the value of being really honest, the value of who I am, what I have to offer to people. And I've developed more friendships from people all over the world, people that I've been doing business with, call me, send me emails saying, Pasquale, you're so an inspiration to me that you have this disease. And I'm sure you probably heard the same thing. And you're functioning, you're working, you're dealing with it. And I don't lie to people. I tell them the truth. I walk in there with a cane. My face is all yellow. I mean, now I got a little bit of sun. My hair has grown back. But prior to this, I looked horrible. I was 20 pounds less. I mean, I don't know really how I look to you right now, but I had no hair, yellow, gray, limping. I mean, so I told people. I had nothing to hide. And I've helped a lot of people along the way to get rid of their fears, to understand that there is a way to deal with this cancer. It doesn't have to overpower your whole life. You can live. Like you said, you developed a business. I continued to grow. I do importing, and I was able to import products to the military. And I grew the business by 120%. This is over the last 18 months. I could barely get out of bed. But it motivated me to do something rather than just lie there. Well, the first thing I'd like each and every one of them to know that I love them all very much, and they're all different individuals, but I still love each and every one of them the same. What I would like for each and every one of them to learn from me is to be honest, to be truthful, to always have respect for yourself. Never let anyone persuade you into doing something that you know is wrong. Always use your own mind. Always use your own judgment. Be able to evaluate a situation rather than say yes or no immediately. Step back a few minutes. Think about it a little bit. Think about what's right. Think about what's wrong. Think about what I tried to give to you. Think about what your mom tried to give to you. So that's what Habilitat gave me, was the ability not to react or act. It gave me the chance to step back, to be able to look at things. That's how I dealt with the cancer. I was able to deflect it a little bit. And that's what I hope I brought to my daughters. Everything is not the end of your life. I believe we're all here for a reason. We all, I forget what religion it is, whether it's Buddhism or something. Everybody's given so many breaths of life. And when your last breath is your last breath, that's it. But until that happens, you need to live. And that would be my message to my daughters and anyone else that I've ever known.